Okay, so I thought I'd show you guys what I have going here. So these are the ends I cut off. I'm gonna have to get 2 more like that. But I just 45'd it and center that up. So the hole is not centered in this piece, but that's because we want to have more of that weight on the support here rather than having this shifted off to the side. And so that's what it'll be like. We'll just have a block. This is just pine, so it's something a little light, not strong. We'll put the oak underneath there. But this will give us a nice place to rest that weight across, not just have it all in one spot. And then you can see here too, by the way this is, it gives a little more support here and everything on your frame. I don't know what I'm going to do here. I think I'm going to cut this one off, and I am going to cut a lot of weight off of it. I want this top flange, so that's going to be where I'm going to be bolting the boards down to, I think, or they're going to at least be resting. But this one's really going to be the one for support. I didn't like the span was too large here, and if I move this one forward, this span was too large. So they're already a little bit larger than the ones back here, but I didn't like to have this one too far forward because this one actually needs to be back further because I don't want it over the tire. I want more clearance for that tire to be able to move without having to worry about this. Another thing too, we'll see, it should be fine, but it's about 1 inch underneath these rails is where that flat piece is going to be on the side. You just got to watch because you need to be able to change tire. I think if you squatted that down, it had to be very far before it was touching here. So I think we'll be fine. But I might round it out a little bit. We'll see. But what you do is you take like a pencil with the string on it, put it right there, pencil on the other side, and you just kind of, you get a nice little curve so it looks nice. But let's see here. I got to weld these. I got all these welded, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need the 6th one welded. I cut that other weld off over there. I need to cut this side off. And what I think I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut, maybe add a taper all the way out, so I'll cut a lot of weight off of here. Or maybe I'll go straight for a while and then taper it down. Same thing in the middle. I don't need that for strength. It's not gonna really do much for me. I just need it there for support for the boards and stuff, and where the headache rack is going to mount here. So those are kind of some of the things that will be going on that I'm going to have to be using. So it's kind of nice to have that piece over here that'll help with some of that, but I don't want all that weight. Each piece is like 30 pounds. So you say 30 pounds, I'm adding 30 pounds and not using it for any real support is not worth it for me. So like I said, I'm going to trim this down as far as weight goes. This one's going to be the load bearing one. So I'm hoping to get like 15 pounds off this. I probably can't get 15, but maybe I can get 10 or so off of there, so it's a little bit lighter. But you think of that, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, it ends up quick. So what is that, 60, 120, 150, it'd be 180 pounds just right there in the cross members. So that's already a lot. 120 is enough. But so we'll see how that's going to work out. I'm just going to weld this one on here, then I'll weld the other side on, and we'll kind of see from there what's going on. But I think it's fairly straight. These holes here, they're pretty good. They're like, I don't know, 3/4, 7/8. I'm only using 1/2 inch, so there's some wiggle room in the holes. I try to get them centered a little bit more, so that way there is some play we can do. I don't want to have to fight the bolts. I am going to, this one I might not, I don't know. This one's fine where it is. But a lot of the other ones I'm going to tack weld the nuts in place because it just makes it easier coming up from the bottom. You don't have to hold no nut and everything when you're bolting and unbolting. Because my guess is I am going to bolt and unbolt this a few times before I am finally finished with it. So I got to take my time and do things like that. Now will save time in the future. So anyways, just thought you'd see this. My camera battery isn't working very well, so I'm not going to be recording a whole lot of this. And it's just boring stuff. We're welding these things down. a lot of walking back and forth, making sure everything's straight. Try to get it as square as possible. And like I said, get this on here, get those welded, and we're good to go on welding the side pieces on. I should get the side pieces on today, and then hopefully get boards drilled on tomorrow. And then I got to figure out how to make the cutout for my ball here, hitch here. So we'll see, my gooseneck hitch. Okay, let's get to work. Okay, so it's another day. Didn't finish everything I wanted to. Show you a few things I've done to finish up last night, and what I'm going to do today. I think I'm always running late, so plans always change on how you're going to do things, and so you're trying to figure out if you want to do it the original way. Like when you draw it up, that's one thing. But once you start to build something, certain brackets are not in the right spot. Spacing's a little bit different than on the truck than how you drew it, because like I didn't have really the actual spacings of the truck frame and the mounting points. So since that changed, I had to kind of adapt a little bit. So originally I designed it with 6 cross members. Then after looking at it, I thought, you know what, it's gonna actually need more like 7 because of how things are spaced. And then when I came in here, I thought like, oh no, you know, I can go back to 6. 6 is strong enough. And that's another reason why I threw a 7 in there. I've been having AI run me the calculations for this, and it's not always consistent. Things kind of change, and I don't really trust it so much. So it's kind of hard to actually figure out what's what. But 7 made it look, well, originally I had it designed with the 3.5 pound channel, and that was where I kind of really needed that 7th one. I mean, it was like close. So then I decided, okay, you know what, I'll put the 7th one in. Then when I went to go buy the channel, they didn't have any 3.5. All they had was the 4.1. So I went with heavier channel. Said, you know what, I don't think I need that extra cross member in there. And then when I was looking how this was going to set up, I was like, maybe I need to. And then I was like, oh, maybe I don't need to. Anyways, I'll show you what I decided to do as far as still using that 7th cross member, but not so much for structure, just for tie points as far as for tying off or attaching the headache rack, and yeah, pretty much for headache rack and the boards. That's all I'm going to be using that for. So anyways, let's go ahead and turn around and take a look at this. Okay, so if you could look down in here, I don't know if the lighting is good enough, but you see how I notched this channel out right here. So now there's not much there. That one's not for support at all. And I thought about notching these out on this side too. The lighting's not the best. But I liked the idea of kind of keeping it stiff, so that way when I attach my headache rack, that actually gives it just a lot more rigidity. In case anything would ever was to slide up into the cab, those would hopefully help. I'm thinking about running up some, I wanted to run some maybe tubing up through here, but I don't know if I want them right here. I think I want them over a little bit more. So I want them on the side of the window so it's not blocking the window at all. But that'll also give it a little more resistance from things sliding in and damaging anything. But I haven't decided on that. That'll be later on if I do. I now have this piece just kind of clamped up here, not welded yet. It's a little bit longer because I cut them all at 9 feet, so I need to trim off a section back here. But there's the sides. I think I got decent clearance right there. And then I was noticing, man, I actually got a lot of space back here. Definitely good for a toolbox. This exhaust is bent. You can see that in that joint there, it's got bent in once, backed into something, obviously. But not only did it bend that, it bent up underneath here where it goes over the axle. So I got to try to straighten that out a little bit. For now, I might go ahead and buy a new one, but for now I'm just going to try to straighten that out, get that exhaust pipe further back, away from the wheel, and then I got to be thinking about mud flaps, how I want to put mud flaps in. Sometimes I'm kind of thinking maybe I should just take that exhaust and run it out the back. I'm not sure what's best. Yeah, I got to look into that, because that would be kind of nice. Then you drop your mud flap here, you have your nice toolbox there. Same thing over here, you put a nice toolbox underneath here, plenty of storage. One thing I see over here, it's like, man, you know what? There's sure a lot of room right up in here, but I don't really have nothing to put in there, and anything you put there you can't get to. So that's kind of the bad thing, unless you were to use this opening right here. So you have a secret compartment behind your toolbox. You open your toolbox, a door in your toolbox, to get to that secret stuff. Some secret sauce. But anyway, so that's what we're doing now. I think what I'll do is I'll take these off, trim these out 105 inches. I got the other one on the ground here. And then I'll start tacking those on. Getting those all in place, getting the other side on. I was noticing it looks like I got a little, it's so hard to tell because this thing is so warped up a little bit. I got to try to push things, try to get as square as I can. I think once you have everything on, it'll look a lot better. I'm going to use this piece of tubing right here, and then I got another one right there. I'm going to actually use those to clamp to, so I'm hoping that I can kind of keep this straight before I tack weld it on there. Hopefully make everything look a little bit nicer. Once I get those on in place, I still need to put something here. And I think what I decided to do here, I'm going to take the maybe like an 1.5 inch flat bar, bend it, and it's going to come right up here and then drop down. And then I'll weld that in place. It'll stick up a little bit higher, kind of make like a little ridge, just to give it that extra beef since I cut these out. I don't even know if I need to do it, but something I kind of want to do just to, I don't know. I feel like I weaken that channel. However, I don't think it's going to matter. I mean, I got 2 bolts back here, so 4 and 4. And the support is going to be resting on that oak board. So, and then nothing, where those are cut, nothing's going to be really resting right there. The closest part is right here. And I don't know, I'm just not really worried about it. But I don't know. And I think that might be 3/4. I'll have to see. If it is, I could even shove a piece of wood under there, and I can always put a couple screws so it couldn't go out, so it stays right there all the time. But I don't know. I don't know. Thoughts. Not sure what's the best way to go about this. But I think I'm going to put that piece of metal in there. I'll just feel happier about that. I was thinking about putting some gussets right here. So if you run a gusset here, like just a little 3x3, you really beef these up, especially for that cantilever, the overhang there. But every time you do something like that, you're always adding weight, and your bed ends up to be 1,000 pounds. Now you have a real strong bed, but I don't know. Sometimes I wish I would have had the 3.5 pounds channel, and I think I'd have been strong enough, but yeah. Anyways, I don't know. We'll see. Time to get to work. Okay, so look at all those clamps. So when these, like I said, nothing's straight because I'm bouncing them around. So I want this edge to be fairly straight with the channel. So that way when you put your boards aren't sticking up or your metal's not sticking up. There'll be a little bit, but I got it out of minimal. And same thing with these. These are not going to be straight either. So we're trying to get them as straight as can, kind of pulling, pushing, whatever we need to do to get them in position. And then we're going to push them tight up against the channel, and we'll tack weld them. So right now I'm pretty close. And you can see here I got that other beam across there. That's just to help pull everything straight. So that way hopefully we're in a lot better position when we weld. So now that once we get this welded on, we're going to have to come back and drill holes for these guys. So These guys will get bolted on. It's got a little bit of wobble. I gotta grind off some of that weld back there. But those will give it my extension to stick it out. Now I won't go here, it'll go right here. And give you that extra 7.5 inches wide when you need it. And then every single one of these will get one. Now I still have not decided what I want to do with rub rails. If I want to do a rub rail or not. I really like this idea of not having a rub rail, because that makes my pickup just nice and sleek right there. You look at that, just if I stick a rub rail out, it'll stick it out further, add more weight. And the way it is right now, you'll be able to come underneath here and hook your straps. Now there might be too much flex in this, since this is only a 3/16. So you'd always want to grab near your channels when you're hooking and you're strapping down. You don't want to grab in the middle, because that'll just bend those around. Yeah, so like I said, I got to decide. I do like that sleek look without the rub rails. I like the look of rub rails too. So we'll see. Once we get this kind of built together a little more, we'll decide how we want to do it. Rub rails add more weight too, so you want to make them wide enough and strong enough. And so yeah, if you can get by without them, you're going to be a little lighter. And like I said, the benefit of a rub rail, if you have it wide enough, you can drop your strap through it and hook it around, so when you're strapping, it makes it a little easier. That is the benefit. Anyways, I got to decide. But for right now, we're going to get some stuff tacked down. You guys can sit right here. Okay. So, I'm not a very good welder. I can get by, make things work. But I'll show you my welds. You guys can criticize them and say how terrible they're going to be and how they're not going to hold. Though I would disagree with you, I think they're going to hold just fine. And with a lot of things, if your welds aren't good enough, or your weights are too heavy for them, unless they're terrible, they're not going to fail on you right away. You're going to notice cracking, and that gives you opportunity to go in there and clean them up, re-weld them, and maybe gusset things or whatever, right? So sometimes people like us who are not as good of welders can get by with stuff like that by gusseting things. I'm hoping I don't have to gusset anything, just because it's extra weight, extra work. But I'm going to go ahead and get these tacked on in place, and then see where we're at. And then I might lay a board up there just to get an idea of how good it's going to look. But anyways, I'll go ahead and tack this front part on. Okay, thought I'd show you guys some welds. I try to get it focused on that front one, it won't focus. Let's see, there we go. Yeah, I should have kept it a little longer there. I'm stopping too fast. That one there looks a little bit better. You can see, not the best, but alright. Same thing there. One thing I am doing too is I am putting some weld inside there. Those are kind of yucky looking. I haven't cleaned those up. Let's see here. That one's partially welded there. But yeah, I can't get a good video on that other one. And then here's where I'm welded the cross members. Come on, focus. There we go. So not the best welds, but they should hold just fine. Yeah, I don't stop long enough, or sorry, I should kind of pause there a little bit longer before I stop, but I'm stopping a little bit too soon. I should probably go a little bit further and then pause before I stop the one. But a little bit of an undercut there, but not too bad. I think it'll be all right. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I think it'll be fine. Very sturdy the way this is. Especially this 3/16 piece really ties them all together. Yeah, let's go look at the front. From the front, you can see, barely see this. I think it's pretty good there though. So see, you're looking up here. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. So if I stick a rub rail on there, it'll stick out. But I'm not sure. Haven't decided what I want to do. But I really like that. So I got to get the other side welded on, and we'll check it out. Let me throw a board on. Let's see how it looks with a couple boards on here. Okay, so I'll show you how I have this all clamped up here. So I have this 1.5 inch tubing clamped to this 5" by 3/16 piece. And so all the way down here. And then I clamp it down to the rails. That way we should be fairly straight across. But that's also what this is doing. This is making sure if I have any ups or downs that they're all fairly straight, because if you don't, you'll have up and down, and when you lay your boards, they're going to look really wonky. So that kind of keeps them a lot straighter for what they need to be. Now, your boards will bow, and you can pull them down when you need to, but if you have a high and a low, that's not good. It's better to have them all fairly consistent. But I mean, like even in the middle, there will be some of that goes on, but it's better to do it this way, making sure things are a lot better. So now we got a little bit of space here. Let's just put a weld in there. I should have given me a little more and not had so much of a spot there to weld on, but it will work. Same thing in the back right there. We'll weld those in, get this all in place, take all the clamps off, and then I think I'm done with the clamps for a while. Put them all away. Got some boards on here just to kind of check things out. This board, I'm gonna go over this board. You can see it does touch that ball right there, just barely. So we'll have to do a little bit of a notch going in there, but we also got to make a frame around there so that way we can get to the hitch when we need it. But that'll be another step. Let's get this other rail welded and be done. Well, I got both sides on now. That side is on. I haven't wire wheeled in there, as you can see. I had to chip it and then wire wheel it. But now this is all on. Not quite ready for the boards, but real soon. I'm going to, oh, look at that. I had a little accident with the wire wheel. But I'm going to weld these nuts on, not these, I got some better nuts. I'm going to weld those on. That way I don't got to try to reach underneath and hold them in place while I'm putting everything together. So that's something I have to do, but still got a little more to do. See, I got my fuel thing here. One thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to weld, I got some 1" flat bar, I'm going to weld a rim around here. I might wait till I get my boards in, so that way you can see, I can see where it's going to need to be, because I want it to just be a little bit higher, because I kind of ground that down with the grinder a little bit. It sticks up just a little bit. I should have just brought it down just a hair more, but it's neither here nor there. It's as good as it gets right there. And I am thinking, though, since this is kind of weakened up a little bit, I don't know, running a piece of channel or angle iron back here, I don't know, just to kind of strengthen this up a little bit. This is not welded in here. You can see I got grooves in there. This is bolted, and then that holds it in place. That is because I can get this in and out still. So I just take this cap off, unbolt this, and I can slide this out. So when I'm moving it in and out, I don't know if I'll put it in there permanent. I would like to, but if you do that, it's stuck in there until you cut it out. But you can still take off your bed, but you got to pull your hoses off. And then you'll be all right as far as taking the bed off and on. And we'll see what we're going to do. I mean, if this was all welded in, I'd feel a little bit better about strength-wise. I don't know, though. I didn't want to go lower. If I go lower, it's not a very good angle. Right now, this hose is fairly flat right there. And in a way, it'd almost be better to be up a little bit higher. One thing I did do also is I pulled this out a little bit. You can see that hose is pulled out a little bit. I didn't like it being pulled back so far. I wanted to bring it more forward, but not too much forward. I don't want it to stick out. So I think that's a pretty good spot right there. And yeah, I think it'll work good there. We'll see how it turns out. Looks like my battery's about dead. I got to charge that up. Anyways, a little bit more work to do.